Hello, I'm Victor Allen for TAMAPTA. Radio has been in the north for many years. It began in Aklavik. It was mainly a local station, but they received the world news and programs from the United States. Producer Debbie Gordon talked with Peter Thrasher, Tom Ross Sr. and Ruth Furlong about the years CHAK was in Aklavik.
CHAK Aklavik, I remember how they used to say it, CHAK Aklavik, your friendly voice of the Arctic. On the air, faithful forever.
CHAK Aklavik, now CBC Western Arctic in Inuvik, first linked the Mackenzie Delta with the rest of the world in 1947. Peter Thrasher, Tom Ross Sr. and Ruth Furlong recall how it was when the radio first arrived.
Well, as far as I could remember, when I first heard about CHAK, I think I was about 13 or 14 years old. And I think it was ran by the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals of Canada to start with. And I first heard it, I was out in the bush in a trap line, and I was listening to that station. It would come on every evening, almost every evening, and then in the springtime it would come on late at night even, way down through, until the morning sometimes, especially for the trappers.
The people just went silly for it, you know, sending one another requests. And it goes on hours, all day, and then half of the night it goes, and some of us sing, some of us play music, and it was really nice for the town anyway.
CHAK was a lot of help to a lot of people in the Northwest Territories here in the Mackenzie Delta, because anytime something went wrong, somebody's loved one died or a relative died, there's always a message going through CHAK at messages time, or if it was urgent, you put it on right now.
Warrant Officer Ed McLeod of the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals of Canada built the radio station out of spare radio parts in 1947. Jack Lewis, a signalman for the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals, operated the equipment.
How big was that building where you used to volunteer working?
Oh, it was pretty small. It was only something like 20 by 15 by 20, I think it was. That's about the size of it. It's only one. No, it was two rooms. One big one where the people could sit out in the front, where they could look at you through the glass or see you, or if you were going to sing, you'd be out on the other side right there, where the sound won't bother all the equipment on the other side. And it was controlled by one person in the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals office, and we never had nothing to do with touching or moving the radio or anything at all. Just only the odd time when we wanted to announce that, we'd have just only one knob we turn it on and off by one part right there, or high or low. That would be for the microphone. That's the way it was. And when we put the records on, that's all we did right there. It was a pretty easy thing to do.
They had just the basic equipment to work the station. However, the frequency could be picked up as far away as Old Crow, Yukon, and Fairbanks, Alaska, as well as the communities surrounding Aklavik.
It wasn't very powerful, but it was strong enough to be heard as far as Fairbanks anyway. Because I remember one Christmas there when Cliff Moore was listening to some different radios on New Year's Eve, and so was Fairbanks, was listening to some different radio stations. They caught on to each other, they crossed each other on their waves. And they were listening. I heard the announcer from Fairbanks saying that we could hear the people in Aklavik shooting off New Year's. You could hear the guns that was outside the station. And Cliff Moore was announcing that. And Cliff was announcing also to the announcer in Fairbanks, telling him that also Happy New Year.
Although Aklavik was just a small community at the time, there was no problem maintaining the building and finding people to work.
The station ran on, it paid for itself on request program, 25 cent request program. That's where it says it paid for itself.
Who was paid and who wasn't?
It was the equipment that was being bought. See, the equipment was the money that we put in a request for, 25 cents a request, and that's sometimes you'd get 10 or 20 requests on one record. Well, that 20 requests, well, that's $5. And you get as many as that on one request. I mean, it accumulates. And it paid for the, like I say, it paid for the equipment that CHAK broadcast on.
And did whoever wanted to go on there, did they get paid for going on? there?
Just volunteers. You know, we're so happy to have it. People are just willing to give a hand to help. Mostly Bernice Norris, and she's Bernice, I don't know what's her married name, and Cliff Moore. And once in a while Tommy Ross. Different guys that wants to help me send messages and requests and all that.
It was mostly a request show, actually. And but the biggest part of it was that people were able to use that for messages out in the bush. Like if somebody wanted to have someone to come into town, or what they're going to do, or to say where they're going to be at in the springtime, they put the message out. Or if there was something wrong, or if they wanted somebody to come in, or there was a sick person. That station was real good at that time. Because I remember that too. Used to have messages daily. I think it was always at noon, I think. Sometimes it was at noon, yeah, and then most of it was in the evening. Because on the latter part of it was going on in the evening, but 7 to midnight.
Since this was the only radio station covering the whole Northwest Territories in them days, all the dialects of the Indians and Inuit were spoken over the air.
If a person wanted to send an urgent message, they either did it in Eskimo, they did it in Lushu, they did it in Slavey, and I think they had a little bit of Cree in there too, because like everybody listened to the program in the Northwest Territories.
In those days, anyone who had a talent was able to go on air.
Who were some of the popular people that went on CHAK?
Yeah, we had different singers, like Peter Thrasher. He sang a lot in the I sang a lot in the days. Buster McLeod. There was quite a few singers, like Bobbin Norris. She sang a lot. Renee Martin sang a lot, and quite a few people. They did a lot, and like the violin players, we had Henry Rivet, Joe Saul, Alfred Bernard, Joe Greenland, John Greenland. And it was like different fiddle, different kind of music altogether.
Were they requested to go on, or did they just go on?
We would ask them to live entertain. So we'd ask them, they'd bring their instruments, and there wasn't too many instruments, and every instrument is valuable to everybody.
There's some ladies who would come and sing some songs with us sometimes too. It was pretty good, actually.
Like who the ladies were?
Well, one was Ruth Furlong at that time, and Rosie Templeton was another one right there too. I don't remember all of them there. There's quite a few. Some of them I can't quite remember, you know. It's quite a while ago. We used to go and sing. And some of the older men too, most of them are gone right now too. Musicians, old-time dancers.
How did you pick the songs you were going to sing?
Oh, I was in the hospital for quite a few years, and that's where I learned to sing with my guitar and pick out all my songs.
Did some people have some favorites?
Oh,
you wanted
yes.
to sing? What kind were they?
All kinds of old-time songs. They used to ask us to come and sing for them, and we sing. Patients, there was patients in 2 hospitals they had here. It was Anglican Hospital and RC. Patients used to ask us to sing for them, and we sing over CHAK.
CHAK was on the air every day of the week.
How is it used, like on special occasions and Christmas and stuff like that?
Oh, they have programs for that. There's different hours. There's hours for a request show, and there's hours for hymn singing. And then there's hours for, you know, they have prayers and that over CHAK, like services. And then there's news. And their request program is only from 7 till 2 or 3 in the morning.
How did the people from the camps and that, how did they send their announcements and that if they wanted to?
Well, there's people coming every day from camps and they bring their little requests to CHAK, and the person that brings it hands it to the announcer.
And there's something else too, it was real good for in those days. It was when the people would get flu, you know, and they'd be told that there's a kind of flu that was pretty bad, and they'd be told to come in or to seek what kind of medication over the radio, or what to do, you know, they're too sick, or who is going to go and get them, or what's going to go out and get them, whether it's a bombardier or a plane or a dog team, you know, and they'd expect that. And they'd be sent a message to tell someone to mark out the airstrip over the air, a landing strip anyway. It's just only a little small airstrip actually for those little planes. A lot of little different things like that, you know. It's actually a real good station to listen to.
I remember there was an old lady from Alaska, I forget what her name was, but anyway, she used to talk on the radio, and she'd be there for about 10, 15 minutes, and us being stupid, you know, we don't understand, why is she talking so long? So anyway, we added a name to her. If she was going to talk, her name was Martha, I believe, and anyway, she would get on the air. We are now going to have your friendly voice of the Arctic talk, and boy, I mean, that stuck with it.
In 1956, people, including the federal government, believed Aklavik was sinking into the mud flats of the Mackenzie. The main community services provided by the federal government moved to the new locations of Inuvik, and CHAK was one of them.
When we first started moving to Inuvik at that time, before that I went to Ontario, Toronto, Ontario. I was on Leaside, Ontario, but where I was getting my training was on Millwood Bridge, across Millwood Bridge, where there's Caterpillar. I was thinking about the town of Aklavik at that time, and I was going to come back to it. It wasn't moved yet, but I was training for the movement of Aklavik. And well, I thought, well, oh God, it's going to be some kind of a big job. They said the town was going to sink, the town of Aklavik was going to sink, but I don't know whether it was going to sink or not. But they wanted, according to what they said, I knew it was something pretty big anyway. And anyway, it was between Ottawa and some of the people around here, which was I think they had formed a committee at that time anyway. There was a big movement anyway. It had to do with the health department, also the economy. There was also not very much work at that time. And the fur industry was down quite a bit too then, I guess. And natives were growing a little more, larger in some way. And the schools here in Aklavik were actually getting a little bit small in some way, and also space was getting to be small too in some way. But I guess the main reason was that they said that the town was going to be sinking. But I don't think it was, you know. Maybe it was in some way, but I don't know. I just have no way to find out whether it was sinking or not. But the thing is that they moved the whole town over, like the hospitals, the schools, the hostels, the armed forces, and all the churches. Everyone was moved across over there, actually. And I was across there for a while too, but I moved back to Aklavik then, because I wanted to come back, you know. For some reason, I don't know what it was. It just, they pulled back. Aklavik pulled me back, you know.
To bring it over here at the time was quite good, because it was new, it was something new. First, when we started working here, and then Aklavik had the station over there, and we had the Navy over there, and the Royal Canadian Signals. In them days, they wore different uniforms that they had, you know, like the old Air Force blue, the old Navy blue, you know. It was Army brown. It was nice uniforms. And then they moved over. It's changed a lot in years that it's been over here. Modernized Western, now they have. I don't call it Western music, because It's not like the old days where you have Western music. We haven't got too much of that now in the station, except my program, which is the Lucia program, and I try to vary music in the program that we have. And it wasn't too long now that I started the program with CHAK, Your Friendly, was the CBC Western Arctic. And it's something that nobody else does but me. But the call station itself is CHAK, where it started in Aklavik, and then they brought it over. They used CHAK here for a long time till CBC took over.
And they changed the name?
And they changed it to CBC Western Arctic. Now that oil company has closed down, the people are going back on the trap line, and CHAK here, CBC, CHAK, will be most important to them because there'll be a lot of times people will need things. All they got to do now is get a two-way radio, and they can talk and go to a certain person or have a radio telephone and talk directly to the manager and say, I want this, so much of this, and put it on a plane here in Inuvik, or Ram will take it out. Just as simple as that. But the old days, you couldn't do that. You only had barges once a year maybe, or twice a year, and you got your outfit in the fall for fall hunt, and then at Christmas time you were into town to pick up more stuff to carry you through till Easter, and you don't go to town that often. And CHAK was the important part, a very important part to the people of the Northwest Territories at the time in the Delta.
What do you think of CBC now and how CHAK used to be long ago?
It's pretty good. It's really good the way it's just about the same as it was running that time. You know, like everybody sent their messages and so forth. People sing sometime over CBC.
Yeah, the new part is that CBC has got a lot of pay right now. I know the payment is pretty big. Whereas at that time, CHK, nobody worked for money at that time. They all volunteered that, and it was just a short and small program. Whereas now CBC is pretty large. It's a day and night matter now, actually. It's morning, noon, evening, all the way through, and through the night even. Or CBC radio or TV. It's a pretty big matter now. It's good. It's okay. It's very good, actually. I still listen to CBC radio very much. Messages, announcements, programs.
As in 1947, radio communication is still needed to get information to the people of the Western Arctic.
I'd like to do a song for John Gubin and for George Hardy, if they're out there listening. I was sitting with them a while ago, so they must be listening. John, you better not do that. When I was just a little boy, there lived next door to me a little girl called Pickle. She was mean as she could be. And every day at recess time, no matter how I try, when a cute little girl just looks at me with a gleam in her eyes, I'd say, honey, you better not do that, and she'd say, why? And I'd say, cause, and she'd say, yeah, and I'd say, oh, you just better not do that. When I was a little older, I went to a country dance. I went to have a little fun. I wasn't thinking about romance, but the dim light just lured her on, and she snuggled up to me. I knew I couldn't last too long, 'cause I'm human, you see. I'd say, honey, you better not do that, and she'd say, why? And I'd say, cause, and she'd say, yeah, and I'd say, oh, you just better not do that. Well, that's the way my life has been, ain't it a crying shame? How much longer could I last if I keep playing this game? Some I don't know who I am. Don't girls know what they're doing? I'm afraid in years to come they're going to be my ruin. I'd say, honey, you better not do that, and she'd say, why? And I'd say, cause, and she'd say, yeah, and I'd say, oh, it's all right if you do that.
Native people today are becoming more involved in communications. In this region, we have the Inuvik Communication Society, which produces a television program, TAMAPTA. I'm a TV host for TAMAPTA and also a narrator. And publishes a newspaper, Thrasher.
Rosie? Yeah, this is Sadie for my CS.
Now let's turn back the year to the early 1950s and listen to some of our elders who performed for CHK at that time. To start us off, here's Tom Ross Sr.
He wasn't going to let Ernest Tubbo do him, so I said, remember me when the candlelights are gleaming. Remember me at the close of a long, long day. It'll be so sweet when all alone I'm dreaming. Just to know, sweetheart, remember me. The sweetest words were told to lovers in the gloaming. The sweetest words was words that used to be. But now you're gone and now you say that you are happy. Just to know, sweetheart, remember me. Remember me when the candlelights are gleaming. Remember me at the close of a long, long day. It'll be so sweet when all alone I'm dreaming. Just to know, sweetheart, remember me.
Here's Ruth Furlong.
Alone, a boy was standing, and when
still got it. What that one was called?
Nobody's child.
And there's another old tune.
To
I'd
end
like
this
play
show,
for the people.
here's
It's
Peter
called,
Thrasher.
Though you're far, far away.